Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, joined now by the voice of the Mustangs, Chris Sylvester. Chris, you've been on the call for Cal Poly for the last 10 seasons. What stands out to you about this year's team?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. 10 years, it's really kind of a surprising statistic when you say it, when we were talking about it. But I think Paul Wolf here in year three, the head coach of Cal Poly, he's brought stability and he's brought a change of culture to this program. They always said around these parts that if you were to ditch the triple option, it would take about 5 years to regain some relevancy. And I think we're seeing that with Cal Poly. With the win they had at Sac State to open up the Big Sky schedule, going toe to toe with a really good top 10 UC Davis team at home this past weekend. I think things are really starting to turn in the right direction for Cal Poly. I don't know if that means a playoff berth or competing for a conference championship this year, but certainly when you talk to opposing coaches in the Big Sky in 2025, oftentimes they'll use the verbiage night and day from what they've seen from Cal Poly teams the last few years. So this is for sure one of the most improved teams in the FCS, and they do feel like they can go toe to toe with anybody in this conference on any given Saturday.
A big reason for the Mustangs' success so far this season is wide receiver Michael Briscoe leads the Big Sky in receiving yards and touchdowns. 7 touchdowns, good enough for second in the FCS as well. What do you attribute to his success this year?
Yeah, Mike Briscoe quickly becoming a top NFL prospect among FCS draft eligible guys for 2026. In fact, there's been a ton of NFL scouts that have come out to Cal Poly practices in recent weeks to see him. It's all about confidence. It's all about route running. You talked to Tim Rosenbaugh, who, of course, was a longtime offensive coordinator in the Big Sky at Montana. He just feels like this guy is tougher. He's stronger. He just knows opposing defenses a little bit better.
Briscoe, of course, going to be a factor in this weekend's game against Montana. I will save that pick for last as it is our game of the week. We'll go to Idaho State, who had that heartbreaking loss to Montana this past Saturday. They head to Bozeman for their second of four straight against top 15 opponents. Tough, tough schedule for the Bengals. Can they pull off the upset this week over Montana State?
I'm going to go Montana State here. I think Montana State, obviously taking their lumps early in the season at Oregon, at home, and double overtime against South Dakota State, top five team year in and year out in the football championship subdivision. It just really feels like since the beginning of conference play, Montana State, they've come into their own on offense. I think there's a real chance Montana State can maybe run this thing all the way to the Brawl of the Wild game. I like the Bobcats by at least a couple scores.
Northern Arizona looking to bounce back from their loss to Montana State. They're visiting UC Davis, a top 15 Big Sky clash. Davis, of course, hoping to remain undefeated in Big Sky play. Will they remain undefeated after Saturday?
This is an Aggie team kind of beat up and bruised, but Tim Plow here in year two has done a great job dealing with what he's had available to him. And I thought the way Caden Pinnick, who's won the Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week, as you very well know, each of the last two Mondays, is proving to be a really big problem for opposing defenses in this conference. I'm going to go Davis here. Shredville, as Tim Plow and company like to call it. I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points there, but Caden Pinnick, man, he's on an absolute roll right now. Got to go with the Aggies.
Finally, our game of the week, your Cal Poly Mustangs heading to Missoula for Montana's homecoming to take on an undefeated Grizzlies team. Will the Mustangs spoil homecoming in Missoula?
I got to go with the Stangs, though. Paul Wolf, he's got these guys on the rise even after their first Big Sky loss by a touchdown against the top 10 Davis team. They are receiving coaches poll top 25 votes, and I think they're receiving those votes for a reason. You look at the weather forecast here, man, it's going to be rainy. It's going to be in the 50s, 60s. I think advantage Montana with that type of weather since we don't get a whole lot of rain here in San Luis Obispo. And you know what? I'm going to go twist on this game. It's not only going to be a shootout, this one's going to overtime, at least one overtime. And I think the Stangs get out of there with what would be their first win in Montana in a decade. 2015, they went to Missoula and got it done against the Grizz. I think history repeats itself 10 years later. As I make my pick, I say go Cal Poly. And if I had the headgear, I would throw it on right now, but I don't.
I love your insight. I don't know if Montana fans really want to deal with another close game, but we'll see if your predictions come true on Saturday.
I'm ready for Grizz fans to be in my mentions. That's all I'll say.
It's going to be another great weekend of football. Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. I'll see you all next week.